And so we just wanted to we wanted to use some of his research and make plans to go forward. So one of the quotes I wanted to share from him that I keep sharing with all of my staff as we continue to be committed to our work is that he says, we should never consider education a luxury. It is a necessity, especially for our students. It may be their only chance at a better life. And so I've been saying that frequently. I've been putting it in our newsletters and in different kinds of communication because I just want that to be in the front. That for our students, it's not a luxury. It is definitely a necessity. It's the only way that they will have a better life is based on their education. So we have to approach it that way in an urgent and passionate manner. All right. And then the last piece that I wanted to share before I open it up to questions is about our D for lead, which was data use. I wanted to share our most recent data and then just talk to you all about how our school this year is planning to use it. So I actually was just in a call with the state office where they were sharing some of our data measurements in our Southwest zone. And one of the things they highlighted for Ingram Pi is that our current mobility rate is at 39.8%, which means that 39.8% of our student population does not remain here through 5th grade. And it was termed in a way that says this is just an outlying issue. Southwest Zone has an average of 25%. 25 to 50% of our students are not staying in our zone through 5th grade. Some of the other points that they brought up were 3-year data trends for literacy, 3-year data trends for content mastery. So for us, our data trend for content mastery for Ingram Pi is an average of 25.3% mastery. And that's over the last 3 years from 2017, 18, and 19. And then for literacy specifically, these are the percent of students who are proficient in literacy. Our 3-year average was 18.5%, which means 18.5% of our students were deemed literate based on the Georgia Milestones results. And then one of the other measures that they shared was about our attendance. So our 3-year average for attendance is actually at 77.4, but we did go down last year with 74.9. So interestingly enough, the virtual environment has actually increased our attendance. We just will need to be thinking about how to leverage that momentum in order to increase our attendance for this year. Last year, I noticed when we shared our attendance data at the beginning of the year, we were higher than we were the year before. And then at some point, what we noticed is around holidays and when it's a high illness season, our attendance goes down. So those are just pieces of data that we can use as we make decisions for our school. And then the additional pieces of data that I wanted to share was I wanted to share with us our goals. So our staff has come together and made some professional goals based on some of our work from last year. And so what we agreed on is that every student has what's called a student growth percentile. And that rating is actually from either the Georgia Milestones, or we can also find it from their STAR assessments that they take 3 times a year. And the average is that we want their SGP to be at 45. 45 is normal, 45 is average. Well, last year we had, let me make sure I have my numbers right. I know that our goal is that we want 100% of our students to have an SGP of 45. And the way we broke it down was that by January, we wanted to check and see how close we were to 50%. And then in May, we will see what's the overall outcome. So last year, our average SGP was 39%. So that means 39% of our students had an average SGP of 45. And we were really priding ourselves in the ability to show growth and to move our students from one spot to the other. And that's really what we need to leverage this year to get 100%. 100% of our students should show an SGP of 45. And that we all of the teachers were all in on that goal. They really felt confident that that is something we can definitely push for. While proficiency and mastery may be an issue, we just felt confident that we could definitely see that growth, especially when that growth is measured by like peers. So depending on what your score was, you're measured by other students who had similar scores. So that was one of our goals, is to go from 39% to 100 in our SGPs. The second goal we had was definitely containing mastery, and I shared earlier that our 3-year trend has been an average of 18.5. So our mastery goal, based on our STAR assessment, since we did not take the Georgia milestones last year, was we had 41% of our students who were in the developing or proficient band, and we wanted to target that area. We want to increase that band from 41% to 50% for ELA. And that will be measured on our STAR assessments. And then if we do take the Georgia milestones, we'll be able to use that assessment as well. For our math goal was that we had 53% of our students who were in developing and proficient. And math tends to be a stronger area for us. So I'm not surprised that that's higher. But 53, so that's a little over half of our students are in the developing and proficient bands, but we want that to increase. And so we agreed that our goal would be to increase to 63% of our students being in the developing and proficient. And many of the teachers phrased it this way: if we increase those two bands, then we're automatically decreasing the beginning. So even though we're highlighting that a little over 50% are in the developing and proficient, that does mean that a little less than 50% are still in the beginning band, and we want to decrease that. So those are the 3 goals that we've adopted as a school. And that was all that I wanted to share as far as my report thus far. Do we have any questions? Okay, so one question I had was, based on your involvement in the community, in your children's education and at our school, what has the response to virtual learning been like for your child, and what have you heard from other members in the community about their response to virtual learning? So you are welcome to unmute and share your thoughts about your experience with your personal children, as well as what you have heard from the community if you don't have children currently in the Bibb County schools.
Well, this is Dr. Sneed. Well, with having a 5th grader, um, what we've done even before school started, we kind of practiced and logged into the computer, logged into Canvas. If there was an assessment coming up, we practiced that at home. I mean, just how to log in before the actual date. Now, being an administrator, it's been interesting. I think with our community, it's just a learning curve, something that that we must do now so that the kids are learning. So the parents are just going to have to spend some additional time just to learn to navigate to the classes, navigate Canvas. I think that's what we see most of our problem is just the navigation, figuring out where the kids should be at this time of the day. But as a school, we did create the schedule so that any time that they log into Canvas, they can just click on that time of the day to go where their class is. So I think that was really, really helpful. So it's an adjustment, but I think in a few weeks, we'll have all the kinks worked out.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Having this is Shirley Horton, having a fourth grader, um, we, first of all, she kind of experienced it early on because after school program was and it also went virtual back in March. And so she had that kind of head start experience as as to how to navigate here and there when they had, of course, during the summer, they would have breakout sessions, in their classroom. And of course, she had assignments that she had to turn in and upload on the computer. So, she kind of had some experience already in it. Uh, but like it's Dr. Sneed iterated earlier, it's a new norm now for not just for the kids, for the parents as well. So
Okay. Anyone else? Well, I will share having two kids who are currently going through the virtual learning experience that we have done the same as well. We tried to practice and made sure that we have a routine. So in the morning when we arrive, they always do their daily check-in before they even start their assignment. So I think having those routines and practicing has helped their transition be smooth. I do know that even with my two, as well as what we've heard from the community, is just issues navigating the different platforms of Canvas and Teams, and also having technological issues. So some of our parents do not have the same bandwidth that we have at home, at school. And so they've had issues with being able to stay online as long as we would like for them to do. But for the most part, each week has been much better. This week we've had very little issues. And I think it's because the parents are putting in that work and are embracing that this is our new norm. So I'm really proud of the work that our teachers have been doing. And many of our parents, many of our parents have been learning new things and just have been embracing this current environment. It's very common that we only hear the negative, but we're hearing bits and pieces of just the appreciation for the work we're trying to do, and that we're trying to carry on with education, because if we didn't, then the 3 month normal had increased to 5 months. And if we hadn't started something, then we would have had an even larger gap. All right. Does anyone have any other questions or comments that you'd like to share? Well, usually what we like to do at the beginning is we just talk about the plans for the next school council meetings. And so at the next school council meetings, we will attempt to vote on different roles. And so those roles are pretty traditional, such as president, vice president, secretary, and we can decide which roles we want to have. Definitely a secretary that can be the recorder and take the minutes and make sure that they're published in a timely manner. And then probably a president or a vice president. So those are things that we can vote on at the next meeting. We can also at the next meeting approve our bylaws. I attached the bylaws from last year, so we can have a chance to review those for the next meeting and approve those. And then the other thing that we did last year that was very helpful was we looked at our goals and we just honed in on one of them. We decided as a school council team what was one of the goals that we would go all in on. And last year, one of the goals was attendance. And that was how we were able to raffle off the $100 every month starting in January. And that $100 was donated by other community members. And we raffled it off. We raffled off 75 for the student who had perfect attendance. And then we raffled off 25 for students who were on time every day. So this year, when we meet again, we can look at those goals and figure out which one do we want to hone in on, which one do we want to go all in as a school council. So those will be the plans for the next meeting. Does anyone have any other suggestions or things that we'd like to consider for the next meeting? No?
No.
Okay. And then I forgot to mention that I forgot to mention that in addition to our new communication platform, we also launched Canvas. I forgot to mention that. I know we talked about it in our reflections, but I didn't mention that in my overall report. Okay, well, that concludes my report, and that actually brings us to the close of our meeting. So at this time, if we don't have any other comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have anyone that would second the motion?
I second that emotion.
Okay. So Dr.
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, well then our meeting is adjourned and we will see you again. Let's see, our next meeting is November 19th at 9:30.
November 19th.
Yes, okay, at 9:30. All right, so thank you so much for your time and everyone have a wonderful day. You
You
too.
too.
Bye bye.